This is not about who's the strongest. This is about not giving up. We have a word for that in Finland.
Sisu is a 2023 historical action thriller, written and directed by Jamari Helander, who's best known for his film Rare Exports from 2010. The film stars Jorma Tommila, Mimosa Willamo, and Omni Tommila. The story's set in the Finnish Laplands of World War II and follows a gold prospector who attempts to secure his gold and defend himself from a brutal Nazi death squad.
Get down on your knees. Fuck him up! We got gold!
So this is not what I normally cover. This is pretty much an action movie. It definitely is a thriller though as well, so it's kind of horror adjacent, and it gets very, very gory. There's lots of brutal fighting and killing and all of that fun stuff. Lots of suspense, things like that. But the main reason I'm covering it, well, one reason is because the same guy who wrote and directed this did one of my absolute favorite Christmas horror movies ever made, and that's Rare Exports from 2010. If you've never seen that movie, you definitely need to check it out. It'll blow you away. It's phenomenal. And the main star in this is the main star in that film. So it definitely has a lot of that same vibe that movie had. The way it's shot, it looks amazing. This filmmaker's vision and the way he shoots things and the pacing, he really is an incredible filmmaker. But this movie was just so badass and so much fun. I wasn't necessarily planning on reviewing it, but I had heard some buzz about it, and I was like, I really wanted to see it no matter what, because like I said, he did Rare Exports, so I was excited to see this regardless. But after seeing it, I was like, I gotta tell you guys about this, because I think most horror fans would really appreciate this, because even though it's not straight up horror, like I said, it has plenty of blood and guts and violence and just badass kills. It's very similar to a John Wick feel, kind of that fast-paced kind of fighting and all of that, but this is different because this feels much more dirty and gritty, much less slick. And there's more of a heart to this, even though it's really strange because there's little to no story. There's very, very little story. Our main star doesn't really say anything in this movie. Most of what goes on in this is the Nazis kind of setting things up and telling us what we need to know. But a lot of it is really just a cat and mouse game between him and these Nazis and just these explosions of fights, and it's really intense. It'll have you on the edge of your seat, but it's just so surprising because for such a simple premise, just this guy trying to get away and fighting and just these back and forth with these Nazis, it's really incredible how well it's done that you just don't feel a lack of story. You don't feel like you're wanting anything. I came away feeling completely full and happy and excited. It's been a while since I've seen an action movie that blew me away like this, and especially one that leans more into the thriller side, because I just saw John Wick the other day, the newest John Wick, and I had a blast with it, but it's straight up an action movie. There's not much of any real suspense. It's not very much thriller-like at all. This does. This has characters you care about, and it has you on the edge of your seat if they're gonna live. It has things that make you uncomfortable. There's some absolutely brutal imagery in this as well, so I think it's very comfortably a thriller as much as it is an action movie. And for those animal lovers, there is one scene in particular that is pretty brutal, but it's just the one, and it's just one animal that gets hurt. It's violent, it's pretty brutal, but it really sets up the level of movie you're about to see, because there's this real almost Old West meets 1970s exploitation kind of grit and grime and feel about this. It doesn't feel like there's any punches held back. It just comes at you full force. And they do it in a really fun way because it's done in these chapters. So this one chapter kind of sets up this portion, and then the little chapter thing will come up and say chapter 2 so-and-so, and it kind of builds upon each other, and so it really feels like you're watching this really awesome novel. But I had such a blast with it. I'd love to see him make more movies in this world. Maybe not even necessarily a direct sequel to this, but just in this same universe, because I'm telling you guys, this guy is a fantastic filmmaker, and I'm excited that he made a straight up English spoken movie now, because he deserves more attention. Because I think if Rare Exports had been all English and he didn't have to read any subtitles, I think that movie would have been even bigger, because I know it has a great cult following now, but not on the level that I think it would, especially with the more recent Christmas movies we've seen getting so much buzz. And that movie just takes a really unique twist on it all. But anyway, this movie, I'm telling you, if you're into action thrillers that have just this violent, fun quality about them, they're not depressing. It kind of feels, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminded me of First Blood, Rambo First Blood, because it just has that kind of dark feel about it, but yet it's still fun and exciting, and you're rooting for people, and you see bad guys getting blown up, and yeah. I loved this movie. I had an absolute blast with it, and I'd like to start reviewing movies like this more often on the channel that are not necessarily horror, but are close enough that I think most horror fans will appreciate them, and a lot of us will still enjoy them, because action thrillers were my first love. Before I fell in love with horror, way back when I was a teenager, I was so into the action thriller genre, and huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, and in some ways, that's kind of dying off. We don't have a lot of those movies anymore, you know, besides John Wick, and there's one here and there. But I felt like this movie just takes it to a different level and brought me that action, kind of a slimmed down kind of movie. Like I said, like a First Blood, where it doesn't have to be these huge explosions and this giant, grand $150-200 million movie to have you on the edge of your seat and excited. This had much more of that gritty, grounded, smaller story, but that just felt that much more intense and entertaining.
He lost his home and his family in the war. He became a one-man death squad.
But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to find out how you can help support this channel and become a member over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member, there's a little button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to watch my review of The Black Demon, and I'll see you guys next time.